And this is the time of day when we've got to really focus and give the attention to the last speakers of the day. It's been a long day, but a good day. And so you've got our full attention. And so just in terms of who we've got this afternoon, Parewanui Morale, kia ora. Randall Cook, kia ora, good to see you. Ngātai Huata. Has anyone heard from Ngātai Huata? Not till 4:20, so it's still a bit of time to go anyway. So, yeah, so we're in your hands. Thank you.
Kia ora koutou, ko Tākitimu toku waka, ko
Kia ora, I affiliate with the Tākitimu Canoe in the Ngaruroro River,
Ngāti Kahungunu toku iwi, ko Ngāti Rahunga
Ngāti Kahungunu tribe.
toku hapu, ko Mangaro toku marae, ko Kāruarewa te waiu, ko
No, I'm
Jaimara
from
Lahau. I am
Mangaroa.
here today to share why I oppose the tank storage plan. I am one of the kaiako for Te Whare Wānanga o Awanuirangi who deliver the program Waiora here on our marae. Waiora is a program designed to teach people Māori tikanga and mātauranga around our waterways, government,
Māori
the local
customs and
bodies,
knowledge.
legislation and decision-making effects on our waterways and strategies on how to move forward that will benefit our taiao, which include reviving ecosystems. Since there has been no water in our waiu Kārewarewa, it has been hard as a tutor to teach my students about this wai that we have easy access to and the use for many tikanga practices which all stopped when the water flow stopped. We no longer have our silver belly eels in our diet as well as our other food our ancestors ate. Not only this wai, but we have been locked out of our other waterways to cater for duck shooters and whitebaiters who hold keys to the gates. Through our kōrero in class, we have come to the conclusion that the water allocation should be dropped. Businesses need to change their business to ones that do not require a lot of water, if any, to produce their product. That way the water is managed better so the aquifer can recharge itself. If they choose to carry on their businesses, they need to research ways in collecting or making water to supply their own stock, vineyards, produce, etc. Changing allocations or making more takes to recharge different areas will not work as you are still taking from a limited source. Our aquifer needs to recharge naturally. Give her time to heal. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, kia ora tātou katoa.
Kia ora koutou, ka nui te mihi atu ki te teiwa ki te ora.
I'm going to see you all
Me te
and to the councillors on that side. Thank you
ki
all.
taku whānau o Ngāti Rahunga i te rangi.
To the family of
O Mangaro.
Rahunga Te Rangi of Mangaroa,
Kahungunu iwi.
of the Kahungunu tribe.
Tino te mihi nui atu ki a koutou.
I acknowledge you all.
I just want to acknowledge all those that have spoken before me. Ngāti Rahunga i te rangi, Mangaro ki te whenua, Mangaro ki te marae, Mangaro ki te rangi. Ka nui te mihi atu ki a koutou. In the
acknowledge
early
you all.
90s, I'm taking us back to the 90s, we formed Te Rangatahi o Mangaro Committee. Part of its constitution was to look after the well-being of our community and its environment. Te Rangatahi o Mangaro developed and implemented a course at our marae in conjunction with the Hawke's Bay Polytechnic, now known as the EIT, Eastern Institute of Technology. We had three of their staff, Lester Finch, Don McLeod and Don Hutana, guiding us to develop this course. We named the course Te Mana Tangata. Te Rangatahi o Mangaro Committee began lobbying to the Hastings District Council for a recreational park for our kids and footpaths along our roads, which we got after 2 years of assertive correspondence. The Te Mana Tangata course taught us how to be assertive nicely. 2 years, and to ensure we always had a paper trail. We also wanted jarabars and 3 entries at the 3 entries into Bridge Park. One up by my house over there, one by Cousin Hoyer's as you enter, coming in that way, and one by cousin Jocelyn's as you come in from Raukawa Road. This was to slow down the speeding traffic. Instead, they gave us islands in the middle of the road along Maraikako Road. Te rangatahi o Mangaro also wanted to purchase the stockyards across the road there that the Hastings District Council was disposing of for $16,900. We wanted to develop a community wānanga centre for our community. We were told by Mr. Peter Woodruff that we would never be able to build on the stockyards. They will not be zoned residential. There is a house and a horse's house on there now. Te rangatahi o Mangaro also pushed the Hastings District Council to find out what was happening to our water and why is it disappearing. We worked with the Hastings District Council to monitor the flow of the Paritua for 2 years. Back then, we had long rulers sunken into the bed of the Paritua in different sections of the river, of the Awa. The Hastings District Council came to the conclusion that the water was disappearing underground. We told the Hastings District Council we don't believe that, and that further investigation needs to happen. They allowed us to work with one of their scientists who told us the water was not disappearing underground and that the surface water was drying up. This confirmed what we also thought. We called a meeting with the Hastings District Council to deliver our findings with their scientists. The Hastings District Council told us the scientists no longer work for them. The point I want to make is Te rangatahi o Mangaro lost faith and trust with local government back in the 90s. In 2008, I studied whakaakoranga at Te Wānanga o Raukawa, and one of my papers, Uiui Kaumātua, was about intergenerational changes. My interview subjects were my father, my brother, and my son, whom all fished and continue to fish in our waterways, except my father, because he's 85 now and he can't fish. In my paper I wrote, if the resource becomes rare or if its environment becomes polluted, then all learning and teaching methods of fishing will no longer be seen, let alone taught. The knowledge and the resource will be gone. I am writing about this in 2008, and today, 13 years later, the resource is gone. Our awa has no water. I have 5 brothers and 5 sisters, and we all love fishing. Those are all our fishing stands out there that are flying those flags. We have been gathering kai in and around our waterways since the 70s. Gathering kai is about whakawhanaungatanga, healthy eating, and just being in around the water is a healing on its own. Our parents, and their grandparents also gathered kai in our waterways as a mean of survival. In 2005, some of our community had run out of water. In 2009, our whole community ran out of water. The council only reacted when the whole community ran out of water. So for 4 years, some of our community had to cart water in buckets and water tanks to their homes. In 2016, 4 people died and 18 people were put in hospital after drinking contaminated water. Before we watch some videos, I want to speak to some of the responses the Hawke's Bay Regional Council gives in these videos. Mr. Rex Graham proposes an environmental rate which is about communities getting the water for environmental reasons. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council wants tangata whenua to pay an environmental rate for a mess they created? I don't think so. Another thing that Mr. Rex Graham says in the video clip, one of the most stupidest things society has done in New Zealand is first in, first serve on water. Anyone could apply for a water consent and they would get it. So what's happened over the last 50 years, water has been taken without any understanding of the aquifer and without any understanding of the demand. So our response to that is, firstly, it is not society that has done this. It is the local governments that have allowed this to happen. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council's job is to protect our environment. How can you protect something that you don't understand? We do not accept the Hawke's Bay Regional Council's pitiful excuse of not understanding. Rex also says, and I quote, 90% of our water runs into the ocean in the winter months. Now this statement is actually misleading, and see, because I know this because I'm a fisher person. My whānau spend a lot of time on the water. It's misleading. 90% of our fresh water only runs into the ocean when there's a flood. That's the only time that happens. Our last flood was in 2018. We know this because our marae flooded, and I'll show you the video clip of that too. Hawke's Bay Regional Council Chief Executive James Palmer, and I quote, water has been allocated in Heretaunga from the groundwater system on the assumption we weren't having a significant effect, environmental effect. I'm going to repeat that. Water has been allocated in Heretaunga from the groundwater system on the assumption we weren't having a significant environmental effect. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council's assumption that they weren't having a significant environmental effect is just stupid. Really. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council has all the resources at their fingertips, and yet they choose to assume. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council's decisions need to be based on facts and certainly not on assumptions. James, we do not accept your response. The video clips that I'm about to play are from Māori Media News and Current Affairs. Bear with me because I kind of only learned how to do this yesterday. But yeah, I just want you to have a listen. Yes, kia ora.
I kara pine atu rā etahi Māori ki waho I te whare o te kaunihera o te mataua Māui I te rānei. Ko te take o tā rātou whakatumatuma, ko ngā tikanga whakahaere I te wai. Me te korenga o rātou e whai mana ki te kōrero I o rātou whakaaro mo te whakahaere I te wai o te takiwā. No ngā wiki tata nei, ka haore te whakaaro kia tū he rohe pōti Māori I te takiwā I koke whakamua. Nā tērā ka puta te riri me ngā whakapai mo te kaikiritanga.
Established.
We need to stop that parrot. E whakaatu nei tā rātou takariri.
We just had a guts full of it. Been
Shows the
lied to and
anger.
deceived no more.
Hei tā i nei tangata whenua o te matau
According
a
to
Māui,
these
ka
people
hore tā
of
rātou
Hawke's
reo, mea
Bay,
rātou mātauranga.
they are
E
not
whai
being
mana
heard
nei te wā e
by the
whakatawana te
regional
kaunihira
council
arohe i ngā take nui pērā ki te wai.
in deciding their
Them
matters.
being in charge of this, our waters have been polluted badly.
Groundwater abstraction, over-allocation, issues to do with contaminations and sedimentations, and so these things are not being, the bar's not being lifted, and certainly as mana whenua, tangata whenua, we're highly disappointed.
Nā wai I he ka he ke atu I te kore o
Going
te
from
tono o
worse,
ngā tūru Māori.
bad to worse.
I whakaitea e te kaunihira I ngā wiki kua pahure.
They need tangata whenua. Yet, you don't want us to sit at the table as an equal.
E whakai ana te hiamana o te kaunihira a Rex Graham, kua tai te
The
wā
chairman
kia
agrees
whaitūru te iwi Māori
it's
I
time
runga
for
I te
Māori
kaunihira.
to have a seat at the table
whakatika. Ia rātou mahi
in order
he.
to correct their
Everything around
wrongdoings.
water is really important. So it's important to park ours as well. And we know that we've done a terrible job over the last 50 years on water. Absolute terrible job. And so we need to do a lot better. We know that.
He take e nei hei tā ngā kai whakahe, ka haria ki te aroaro o te kōti whiriwhiri ai. Irina Smith, te
These will be
karere.
taken to the court for them to
So,
decide.
you know, in that video, you know, Rex is saying, or admitting, they've done a terrible job with the water. Terrible job for 50 years. And what, are we just supposed to accept that? I don't think so. Just another clip.
Last year, $30 million was set aside from the Provincial Growth Fund to help locals in Hawke's Bay address water issues, with a very clear directive that Māori and economic social wellbeing be prioritised. Water storage has been identified as a leading solution by local leaders, but Māori say they have been left out of the decision-making process. Here's Kirsty Babington with this story.
The Paritua Karewerewa stream in the small Hawke's Bay community of Mangaroa.
This our life force. This hour here would feed every household here. Tuna. He tino taonga. Tēnā. The name here is also called Te Awa Te Atua. This is the nursery.
On the edge of arguably the best red wine growing region in Aotearoa, water is a precious commodity.
Angry. Pukurerera watu. We've
Very
been
angry.
fighting for this, the mana of this wine, for decades. And for years thought we were working collaboratively with our regional council, but they're destroying our waterways. They're full on irrigating Hastings, draining our aquifer, draining our rivers. And it needs to stop. Total mismanagement.
It's an all too familiar story for the people here. During the last major drought a decade ago, the river ran dry and the village lost drinking water because household bores could no longer reach deep enough to the aquifer that services 83 water consents just kilometres up the road, for an annual take of about 6 million cubic metres.
So I'm seeing funds going into supporting wealthy business people here in Bridge Park, while Māori go without. And Māori here are struggling to even get a water consent.
Mangaroa's Wihuata says hapu aspirations and solutions to the water problems have been ignored.
You wouldn't believe that this was the start of the Golden Triangle, where the best red wine is made.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't. And for a whole lot of reasons. But without water to it, it's always going to remain like this. Best suited land in all of Hawke's Bay to grow grapes. We own the land. We own the water. But some blinking beggars come along and said, no, you don't.
In 2012, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council established TANK, a stakeholder group with about 30 representatives, including tangata whenua, to agree on a plan change to manage Heretaunga water resources. A moratorium was put on all new water consents, but existing consents, which Regional Council modelling has shown depletes 93% of the Paritua Karewarewa stream's natural flow during peak take times, will be rolled over.
My kaupapa is that we drive an economy that is in harmony with the environment. We haven't done that in the past. One of the most stupid things as a society we've done in New Zealand is first in, first served on water. So anyone could apply for a water consent and they get it by right. So what's happened over the last 50 years is the water has been taken by right and without any understanding of the aquifer, without any understanding of the demand even.
Whilst the Hawke's Bay Regional Council says the lack of water for Māori land was an unintended consequence of a policy aimed at protecting the water resource from further depletion, Wihuata says the results speak for themselves.
You could learn a lot from us as Māori, as guardians of our waters, as guardians of our lands, to ensure that our environment, our ecology is, something that we can really be proud of. But this sort of mess to what they create by ensuring that only some get it, it's like we can't actually learn from that. And we've lost the faith in them to do the right thing by everybody.
Last year, $30 million was allocated from the Provincial Growth Fund to address water issues in the Hawke's Bay. And water storage is at the top of the Hawke's Bay Regional Council's solutions to the crisis.
90% of our water runs out to the ocean in the winter. So if we could store some of that water, and then in the summer, in the dry months, and it's only 3 months, we can put that water straight back in our streams. So the storage is not about farmers getting the water, it's about the community getting the water for environmental reasons. So we have an environmental rate. That's what I'm advocating.
Why should tangata whenua now have to pay an environmental rate to get access to their water?
I just think everyone's got to fairly pay. I mean, it's not going to be a huge amount. If everyone contributes and the water users are the major contributors, small people who live in, that live in a house, they're not going to pay much at all.
It's providing water security for about 600 or 700 hectares of crops.
Orchardist and irrigator Mike Glazebrook built this man-made lake 20 years ago, a move which has earned him the title from locals of Water Baron.
It's been decided by the Regional Council and basically all the members of the TANK group that enough is enough. We just start risking the rivers and streams if we keep taking water out as we're doing it. So a solution's needed.
In the proposed plan to increase the current storage, funding from the Provincial Growth Fund may not be used. Rather, Mike hopes to create a private partnership with tangata whenua.
So I think it would be a great solution going forward, and I think it would remove a lot of those historic tensions. I think it would be a sound investment for them, and I think it will restore quite a lot of mana in terms of the management of the resource.
A 50% share will be offered to Heretaunga Tamatea, the treaty settlement entity for Ngāti Kahungunu. But Mangaroa Bridge Pā locals say hapu have their own aspirations and want to be supported to do their own feasibility studies to provide solutions.
You come with a clear sheet of paper. Don't come with your predetermined agenda, where we have to fit into what they are on about. We would put up our lands about where best to store it. We would create this water storage where the financial gain is only one bottom line. We would ensure that our ecology, our environment is another. It would be a lake, it would be a storage area that the whole community, not just us as Māori or Haukainga, would be able to share it. Water isn't just about their definition of just making money. That's why I say they've got a lot to learn from us.
There's no doubt that access and ownership of water will be an important issue in the upcoming election.
Oh, there's just one more I want to show you, and that is in 2018 when our marae flooded. And you'll actually be able to see that it's only a couple of inches and it would have entered this whare as well as the whare nui.
I'm just wondering, do we need to watch the whole 5 minutes? Could we just watch a bit of it just to get a feel for the...
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll cut it short, sorry.
Thank you. Oh, wow.
Where was the water from?
And we actually had to get out there and tell the traffic to slow down because as they were driving, the water was being pushed up here and it would have entered our marae.
There's a question, where was the water coming from?
Is this from the Narororo or one of the smaller streams, the water here?
You know, when it rains in the ranges,
yeah,
it comes all the way downpour. And we believe that when Mr. Glazebrook can't take the water, he opens his dam, he opens his gates, and it all comes pouring down. And this is the result, the flooding. But okay, kia ora, John. So I just want to take us now to the tank plan, Tank 9 Change Plan, page 1, background, paragraph 5. The process used by the Hawke's Bay Regional Council to prepare this plan change has been a community-based collaborative approach dependent on considerable input by the tank group members. This has involved consensus decision-making by local representatives and a variety of interest and stakeholder groups, and the significant influence of tangata whenua to develop the recommendations leading to this plan change. We are the tangata whenua. Whenever there's a problem with the water in Hawke's Bay, it affects us first. We are the tangata whenua. You did not consult with us. You didn't even invite us to the table. Our marae lodged over 50 submissions opposing the Tank 9 plan. Paragraph 6 on the same page, page 1. Tangata whenua have been involved in and contributed to the collaborative process in the way that has enabled better community decision making. Again, we were not involved. We weren't asked to contribute. Paragraph 6 carries on saying, being part of the collaborative process has ensured the wider tank group better understood and accounted for tangata whenua aspirations and values during this process. Not once, ever, has the Hawke's Bay Regional Council asked us what our aspirations are. Not once, when it comes to water. Never. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council does not care about our aspirations and values, because if you did, we would have water in our awa. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council does not understand how important our water is to us. Page 2, 5.10.1, tank objectives. First paragraph. The Council, tangata whenua, and the urban and rural community work together in a way that recognises the kaitiaki and guardianship roles they each play in freshwater management. Now I'm going to take us back to what my cousin Hera talked about. In 2014, we worked collaboratively with the Hawke's Bay Regional Council on Oho Rawa Ake Te Awa, reawakening Te Awa. Through this, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council guaranteed us continuous water flow in our awa. 5 years later, this all turned to custard. We had no water in our awa. We do not trust the Hawke's Bay Regional Council to do the right thing by our water. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council has mismanaged our waterways for more than 50 years. Objection Tank 2. The kaitiakitanga role of tangata whenua and their whakapapa and cultural connection with the water are recognised and provided for. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council does not recognise us as kaitiaki, nor do they understand our cultural connection to the water. If you did, we would have water in our awa. The tank plan proposes to increase the current water storage systems. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council practices for water storage are paru. And they kill the mauri of the water. The present water storage systems that the Hawke's Bay Regional Council has created are the exact reasons why we have no water in our awa. And you want to increase these water systems? Ngāti Rauhunga i Te Rangi have their own aspirations on water storage and want to investigate feasible and sustainable solutions where our environment and our ecology are paramount. There are over 130 pages in the Hawke's Bay Regional Council Tank Plan 9, and I have only spoken on the first 2 pages. Moving forward, the Hawke's Bay Regional Council need to urgently review all of its water consents, water allocations and water takes now, before it's too late and more of our waterways have no water. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council need to give serious consideration to stopping all water allocations for businesses, big landowners, and anyone else that uses water for profit internationally. We should only grow and breed for the local market. Those who wish to continue being on the international market money train must find their own solutions without taking our water. By using science technology to capture rainwater, to create water through gathering moisture created through plastic or glass houses, to create fresh water out of seawater. I am sure you will find your own solutions without taking water from our waterways and aquifer. The Hawke's Bay Regional Council also needs to stop their paru practices in our waterways and aquifer. Our waterways and aquifer need to replenish themselves naturally. In closing, I want to acknowledge, I am actually going to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge the Hawke's Bay Regional Council for their unanimous decision voting in Māori wards last week. However, having 9 councillors and 2 Māori seats is unjust. When the Hawke's Bay Regional Council reviews how the new council will look in 2022, you need to honour Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And not only recognise, but start practising what a true partnership looks like. 50-50, not 9-2. I want to reiterate that Mangaro Marae has no trust in the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and we oppose the Tank 9 plan. We do not trust the Hawke's Bay Regional Council to do the right thing by us when it comes to our water. For too long, we have been fighting for our water, and enough is enough. Kia ora.
Thank you for your submission. I'll just see if there were any questions or matters of clarification. No, thank you very much for your submission. Loud and clear. Mr. Cook, you've been waiting patiently. Hey, thank you. The floor is yours. We've got your submission. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Randall Cook. I'm a 10-pound POM, having emigrated from England in 1963. I'm connected to Mangaro Marae through my wife Queenie, who's sitting on the far right there. And together we are so blessed to have 4 children, 12 grandchildren and 25 great-grandchildren. This marae is so dear to me, and even before it was built, I helped with so many of the fundraising efforts. And during the building, I used to spend my weekends pushing wheelbarrows and nailing panels to the wall. After I retired, I made myself the unofficial caretaker, mowing the grounds, fixing simple breakages, and generally keeping our marae looking as good as it possibly could. Now, with regards to my submission, I originally saw a photograph of the Kauriwa stream in Bridgepa in the Hawke's Bay Today newspaper on the 30th of June last year, and it prompted me to write this submission. Approximately 6, maybe 7 years from what I just heard, the Regional Council helped Mangaro Marae tidy up and replant both sides of the stream along the northern boundary of the marae. At that time, considerable discussions were held between the then Marae Committee and the Regional Council about the flow of water in the stream. When water is flowing along our stream, it's such a beautiful sight for the whole community to enjoy, not only from a scenic point of view, but also from a recreational view. Over the generations, the people of Bridgear have been taught how to catch eels in the stream, and over time that skill is still passed down to our younger generation. The swimming hole by the bridge has always been our aquatic centre and a focal point during the summer months where families have enjoyed barbecues and swimming for many, many hours. If only the bridge and the swimming hole could talk, I'm sure it would reveal many, many secrets of life in Bridgepa, both good and some not so good, and some would be straight out hard case. Unfortunately, and usually at the height of summer, the stream dries up, and despite the best efforts of many people, hundreds of eels and small fish die as the swimming hole completely dries out. The Regional Council are well aware of this, and at the time of the beautification and replanting, they assured us that they would endeavour to solve the water problem. Since then, nothing has happened, and we believe that the Regional Council have failed us completely with their veiled promise of a continued flow of water in our stream. There must be a reason why our stream runs dry, and it is so disheartening to see such a lovely looking stream during spring and early summer with bank-to-bank watercress, which, as you know, is a staple food for most of us, or a lot of us, to a dry, desolate dust bowl of an unlooked after creek in the height of summer, let alone the loss of all the water life, like fish, eels, and other waterborne creatures. We assume that the vineyards and wineries between Bridgepower and the source of the stream must have their own wells, so this will essentially rule them out of causing our stream to dry out. On the whole, the residents of Bridgepower feel so let down by the fact that our stream is so dry and barren at the height of summer and autumn, when in fact it should be a real focal point of our village, and so many feel that our stream has been that if our stream had been situated in any other suburb of Hastings, heaven and earth would have been moved to ensure a continued flow of water would be travelling down our stream. Finally, we ask that the Hawke's Bay Regional Council revisit the flow of water in the stream, or lack of, and instead of us looking at that dry, desolate dust bowl that's an eyesore in anybody's language, we could instead be singing the praises of the Regional Council and enjoying continued swimming and barbecuing late into the summer evenings, as well as listening to the ripple of water as it wends its way towards Pakipak, with the sheer beauty of having water in our stream all the year round. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Do we have any questions? Thank you, Mr. Cook. We have our last speaker of the day is Ngātai Huato, who not attending this afternoon. We'll just make a note of that. Obviously, we want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. So if we can find Ngātai, just find out what's happened, see if we may be able to fit them in. We'll try our best. No. Otherwise, that's the last of our speakers this afternoon. I'd just like to again thank Mangaro Marae for hosting us this week. It feels quite different when we start the hearings on the marae. It just seems the right thing to do, and it was really good to hear the very impassioned and strong kōrero today. It's interesting when you hear words in te reo Māori, they sound very sweet, but when you translate them into English, that it might not carry the essence, but I'm sure you get a flavour of the strength and the passion in which they've been given. So thank you very much to the speakers who spoke to us, and it felt like you felt very comfortable being on your marae and speaking from your heart. So thank you very much. I'd also like to acknowledge administration staff and the staff of Hawke's Bay Regional Council who have come along today, and we look forward to seeing you for the rest of the week. Then we're going to pass over to our kaumātua to close our proceedings just for this afternoon. Thank you.
Greetings to us all who have gathered to listen here. I'm really grateful that this meeting was established. We have our own authority. We have authority. We want to show you that we have our own authority. And I'll give it over to Petey for you to close. Thank you for this honour, my elder.
Nā nei arahia ia tātou ki runga te roanga tēnei rangi mai tōna timatatanga i te whakatau mai te runga ki tēnā o hiko wera. Tai ki rā ki roto ki roto ki tēnei o tātou e whare. Nā ki hea mai rai a tātou me ki ngā rāka e whai ate ki tēnei. Nā ki hea e nei o tātou ne kumiana e noho ke runga te tēpu. Kia whakaaro hea, kia kore angaru ai e nei ngā kuku i whare ki hea kai unga tarangi nei. E te atua, pera tātou e mihi tuku tēnei whakamamiti. Kia koe, kia tau, kia tātou katoa.
E te whai o tata, tauriki, i karaiti, me te aroha, te atua, me te whiwhi o taitanga ki te waira o tapu. Ake, 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 āmane. Kia ora. So we'll reconvene 9 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.